account, and when I got off the phone with Micah, I called Tegan right away and told her.
It's really fan-like behavior, in my opinion, to be so obsessed with someone that you've met one single time.
What was that look for?
I just, yeah.
Wait, what was that look for? Were you?
I think it was his way of saying you're finishing all my sentences.
You are finishing all my sentences. I have not.
The tension in the Plath family has never been higher, and just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more chaotic, a single rumor ignited an explosive chain reaction that no one saw coming. Picture this, a family already known for its strict rules, fractured relationships, and past heartbreaks suddenly thrown into the middle of a scandal so personal, so shocking that it threatens to tear apart not only a romantic relationship, but an entire family. This isn't just drama for the cameras, this is raw emotion, real pain, and decades of unresolved issues bubbling up to the surface all at once. It all began with a whisper, a rumor about someone close to the family, a rumor that quickly turned into an accusation and then spiraled completely out of control. Veronica, who has been in a rocky relationship with Micah, claimed that Tegan, who is connected to the family through Ethan, might have an OnlyFans account. Now, in most families, a rumor like that would cause some awkwardness, maybe a few heated conversations behind closed doors. But in the Plath family, where image and appearances have always mattered, and where trust is already paper thin, this was like tossing a lit match into a room full of gasoline. Hi friends, my name is Sarah, and welcome to Sister Wives Daily. If you love Welcome to Plathville, and you're as fascinated by the intense, real-life drama of this family as I am, you are in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates. And please drop a comment below as we go through this wild story. I want to know exactly what you think about everything that went down. Now let me tell you, what we're about to cover today is one of the most dramatic turns this family has faced on the show. This isn't just about a rumor, it's about broken trust, jealousy, and deep, unresolved wounds that have been festering for years. And as if that weren't enough, all of this chaos is unfolding right before Lydia and Zach's wedding, an event that was supposed to bring the family together. Instead, it's threatening to tear everyone apart in the most public way imaginable. When Veronica first heard the rumor about Tegan possibly having an OnlyFans account, she didn't keep it to herself. She immediately brought it up to Micah, and she didn't just mention it casually. She confronted him with the full weight of her suspicion, and she expected him to react with total outrage. But instead of taking her word for it, Micah did something that, in Veronica's eyes, was a complete betrayal. He went online to see if there was any truth to the rumor, and this is where everything truly explodes. Veronica saw Micah's actions as proof that he wasn't just curious about whether the rumor was real. She believed he was actively trying to see explicit images of someone connected to their family. For Veronica, this crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. In her mind, it wasn't about fact-checking, it was about trust, respect, and loyalty. From Micah's perspective, though, he was trying to get to the bottom of the drama. He wanted to know the truth so he could shut down the rumor once and for all. In his mind, he wasn't doing anything inappropriate. He was simply trying to protect everyone involved by confirming whether or not this shocking claim was even real. But here's the problem. When two people are already walking on eggshells in a relationship, even the smallest misunderstanding can blow up into a full-blown war. And that's exactly what happened. Veronica's anger reached a boiling point, and she didn't hold back. She accused Micah of betraying her, of being disloyal, and of having questionable intentions. She didn't just question what he did, she began to question who he really was. Meanwhile, Micah was caught completely off guard by the intensity of her reaction. What he saw as a simple search turned into a moment that would shake the foundation of their relationship. But this fight wasn't just about the two of them. The ripple effect spread quickly through the rest of the Plath family. Remember, this is a family with a long history of conflict, secrecy, and clashing values. Micah's siblings and parents have seen their share of fights over the years, but this was different. This wasn't a private disagreement. It was a scandal with the potential to humiliate them publicly. The timing couldn't have been worse either. With Lydia's wedding right around the corner, the family was already feeling the pressure to present a united front. Instead, Veronica's accusations and Micah's attempts to defend himself only added fuel to the fire. Suddenly, everyone was forced to take sides. Some felt Veronica was being unfair and overly dramatic, while others believed she had every right to be upset. And at the heart of it all was Tegan, who hadn't even been given a chance to defend herself before becoming the target of this rumor. As Veronica's frustration grew, so did her distrust, not only of Micah but of the entire family. She began to see herself as an outsider, someone who could never fully belong, especially when she felt that the family was closing ranks to protect Tegan and dismiss her concerns. This sense of isolation pushed Veronica to a breaking point, and here's where things get even more intense. Veronica wasn't just questioning whether she could trust Micah anymore, she started to wonder if she could even show up at Lydia's wedding at all. Think about that for a moment. A family wedding, a day that's supposed to be filled with joy and celebration, now overshadowed by resentment, suspicion, and unspoken threats. Veronica made it clear if Tegan was going to be there, she wouldn't be, and if Micah went to the wedding without her, their relationship might not survive. This is more than just a family feud. This is a slow-motion train wreck playing out in front of everyone they know and love. One rumor has set off a chain reaction that could destroy relationships, ruin a wedding, and leave scars that last for years. By the time you reach this point in the story, you start to realize something very important. This isn't really about Tegan's rumored OnlyFans account. It's about the deeper issues that have been simmering under the surface for a very long time. It's about old wounds, unresolved pain, and the struggle to balance loyalty to a partner with loyalty to family. And as Lydia's wedding day draws closer, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Veronica attend and try to keep the peace, or will she walk away completely? Will Micah be able to win back her trust, or will this fight be the one that finally ends their relationship? Stick with me, because in the next part of this story, we're going to explore the family history that led to this explosive moment and uncover why this one rumor was able to create such total chaos. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. To really understand why this one rumor about Tegan has completely shaken the Plath family to its core, we need to take a step back and look at the history behind this family. Because the truth is, this didn't all just start with Veronica's accusation or Micah's reaction. These conflicts go way back, built on years of strict rules, painful choices, and relationships that have never fully healed. The Plath family first came into the public eye as a picture-perfect, ultra-conservative household. Kim and Barry, the parents, raised their 9 children on a farm in rural Georgia. Their lifestyle was extremely sheltered. No television, no internet, no pop culture influences. Their kids were homeschooled, kept away from mainstream music, movies, and even simple things like sugar. On the surface, it was all about protecting their children from what they saw as a harmful world. But as those kids grew older, that protective bubble started to feel more like a cage. Ethan, the oldest son, was the first to really push against his parents' rules in a visible way. His marriage to Olivia became a major turning point for the entire family. Olivia grew up with her own strict religious upbringing, but she had begun to question those beliefs by the time she met Ethan. When she married into the Plath family, she quickly realized just how deep Kim and Barry's control went. Simple things that most people wouldn't think twice about, like listening to certain music or having a glass of wine, became huge sources of conflict. From the very start, Olivia clashed with Kim and eventually Barry as well. There were constant arguments about boundaries, about independence, and about what kind of life Ethan and Olivia were allowed to build together. These fights didn't just create tension between Olivia and her in-laws, they forced Ethan to take a stand. For years he tried to balance his loyalty to his wife with his love for his parents and siblings, and it became increasingly clear that he couldn't please everyone. At one point, things got so bad that Ethan and Olivia made the painful decision to completely cut contact with Kim and Barry. This was devastating, not only for them but for the younger Plath siblings, who were caught in the middle. Moriah, one of Ethan's younger sisters, especially felt the fallout. She was close to Ethan and Olivia, and she struggled with watching her family splinter apart. Moriah herself eventually decided to move out and start exploring life on her own terms. embracing new freedoms that she'd never been allowed growing up. Then there's Micah. As another one of the older Plath kids, Micah also began questioning his upbringing and wanting to experience more of the world. He left the family home and started modeling, something that would have been unthinkable under his parents' rules. Micah's move toward independence was quieter than Ethan's dramatic break, but it was still a big deal. It showed that the younger Plath kids weren't content to simply follow the path their parents laid out for them. But here's the thing, even when these kids physically moved away, the emotional ties to their family remained incredibly strong. Every choice they made, every relationship they entered, still felt connected to the bigger family narrative, which brings us to Micah's relationship with Veronica. Veronica came into Micah's life after he'd already started to carve out his own path. At first, she seemed like a supportive presence, someone who encouraged Micah to keep growing and exploring life outside of his sheltered upbringing. But as time went on, it became clear that Veronica's relationship with Micah wasn't just about the two of them. She was now entangled in all of the existing tensions and conflicts that came with being connected to the Plath family. From Veronica's perspective, she often felt judged or excluded by Micah's family. She didn't grow up with their same values, and she wasn't part of their history. Whenever conflicts arose, she sensed that the family closed ranks and left her on the outside. This feeling of being an outsider created a lot of insecurity and resentment. It wasn't just that she and Micah had normal relationship struggles, it was that those struggles were always magnified by the presence of his family, and it wasn't one-sided either. Some members of the Plath family viewed Veronica with suspicion or outright dislike. There were subtle comments, quiet judgments, and sometimes not so subtle clashes. For Veronica, it felt like she was constantly defending herself, constantly fighting to be seen as more than just Micah's girlfriend. Over time, this wore her down. This back and forth created a fragile dynamic. Veronica wanted Micah to fully prioritize her, to put their relationship first, but Micah felt torn. He loves Veronica, but he also loves his family and wants to maintain those connections. And because the Plaths have a history of dramatic falling outs and reconciliations, there's always this undercurrent of fear that one wrong move could lead to permanent damage. So when the rumor about Tegan surfaced, it didn't just land on neutral ground, it landed on a battlefield that was already full of landmines. Veronica was already sensitive to feeling excluded and mistrusted, and suddenly, here was a situation that seemed to confirm all of her worst fears. It's also important to understand why Tegan's involvement makes this so explosive. Tegan isn't just some random person, she's connected to Ethan, which means this rumor had the potential to embarrass multiple people in the family. And because of the Plath's past, where reputation and appearances have always been important, this wasn't just a personal matter, it was a public one. Now layer on top of all of this, the fact that Lydia, one of the younger Plath siblings, is preparing to get married to Zach. Weddings are supposed to be joyful occasions, moments where families come together in celebration. But for the Plaths, Lydia's wedding has become a high-pressure event. There's a sense that everyone is supposed to show up, smile for the cameras, and pretend that everything is fine. Behind the scenes, though, nothing is fine. Old grudges are still simmering, hurt feelings haven't been addressed, and now, with Veronica threatening not to attend if Tegan is there, Lydia's special day is at risk of becoming yet another battleground. Lydia herself has often been seen as one of the more peaceful, calm members of the family. She tends to stay out of the drama, focusing on her faith and her future with Zach. But even she can't escape the tension this time. She knows that her wedding might be the first time certain family members are all in the same place together after months or even years of strained relationships. That alone is stressful enough. Add Veronica's feud with Tegan into the mix, and it's a recipe for disaster. Micah is stuck right in the middle of all of this. He wants to be there for his sister's wedding. He wants to support Lydia and Zach as they start their new life together. But he's also desperately trying to keep Veronica from walking away from him entirely. It's a near impossible balancing act, and every move he makes seems to upset someone. When you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, it's heartbreaking. This family has been through so much together: strict rules, rebellion, public fights, painful separations, and now they're at a point where even a joyful event like a wedding feels like a test of loyalty. Everyone is holding their breath, waiting to see who's going to show up, who's going to fight, and who might walk away for good. And this is why the drama over Tegan's rumored OnlyFans account has hit so hard. It's not really about Tegan, or even about whether the rumor is true. It's about everything that's come before this moment. It's about Veronica feeling like she'll never truly be accepted, Micah feeling like he's constantly forced to choose sides, and the rest of the family trying to hold on to some kind of unity in the face of endless conflict. As Lydia and Zach's wedding day approaches, the pressure keeps building. Every conversation, every decision, every side-eye glance carries extra weight. This isn't just one fight between a couple. It's a symbol of how fragile the Plath family has become. And the closer we get to the wedding, the more it feels like something is going to break. In the next part of this story, we'll go deep into how the rumor about Tegan first spread and why it turned into such a massive scandal. Because once you see how it started, you'll understand why this single moment has the power to change everything for the Plaths, and why Micah and Veronica's relationship may never recover. It all began with a phone call, one of those conversations that starts out casual but ends up altering the course of everything. Veronica was going about her day when Micah's brother reached out to her with something shocking. He told her there was a rumor floating around, and it wasn't just any rumor. It was about Tegan, who is closely connected to the family through Ethan. The claim that Tegan had an OnlyFans account. Now, for a family like the Plaths, where appearances matter and reputation carries incredible weight, this wasn't just some minor piece of gossip. It was explosive. Veronica's mind immediately started racing. She knew what this kind of accusation could mean, not just for Tegan, but for the entire family. And in her eyes, it reflected on everyone, including Micah. Veronica didn't sit on the information for long. As soon as she hung up the phone with Micah's brother, she called Micah directly. She didn't just ease into the topic or test the waters. She jumped straight in, laying out what she'd heard and demanding that he take it seriously. In Veronica's mind, this wasn't just a casual conversation. This was about protecting their circle, defending what little trust they had left. But here's the problem. When you hit someone with a rumor like that, there are two possible ways it can go. Either the person immediately believes you and reacts with outrage, or they pause and question whether the rumor is even true. Micah chose the second route, and that decision is what sent everything spiraling out of control. Micah didn't dismiss Veronica's concerns. He didn't laugh them off or act like she was being dramatic. Instead, he said he wanted to verify whether or not the claim about Tegan was real. From his perspective, it was a logical next step. If there was any chance the rumor wasn't true, he wanted to know before it spread any further. So Micah did what a lot of people would do in the same situation. He went online and started looking. He searched to see if there was any evidence of what Veronica had heard. To Micah, it was a simple, straightforward action. He wasn't doing it out of curiosity or excitement. He wasn't trying to catch a glimpse of someone he shouldn't be looking at. In his mind, he was just fact-checking, trying to get to the bottom of things before they exploded. But when Veronica found out what Micah had done, she didn't see it that way at all. To Veronica, Micah's decision felt like the ultimate betrayal. She didn't hear, "I'm just trying to verify if this is true." What she heard was, "I went online to look at explicit images of someone connected to our family." And for her, that crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The moment she realized what Micah had done, Veronica's anger boiled over. She confronted him with raw emotion, her voice shaking with fury and hurt. She accused him of not only doubting her word, but actively disrespecting her and their relationship. "How could you do this?" she demanded, her words laced with disbelief. "You're telling me you went looking for proof instead of trusting me. Do you realize what that says about you, about us?" Micah tried to explain himself. He told Veronica that it wasn't about wanting to see anything inappropriate. It wasn't about desire or curiosity. He said he just wanted to know the truth so he could shut down the gossip before it spread further. But Veronica wasn't in a place to hear that explanation. To her, intent didn't matter. The action itself was enough to confirm every fear she'd ever had about him. This fight wasn't just about the rumor anymore. It was about everything that had been simmering under the surface for months. Veronica already struggled with jealousy and distrust in their relationship. She'd seen Micah interact with other women. She'd heard comments and whispers, and she carried a lot of pain from past betrayals, both real and perceived. So when Micah went looking for proof, it wasn't just a search. It was in her mind evidence that he couldn't be trusted around other women at all. The words coming out of Veronica's mouth were sharp and cutting. She accused Micah of having impure motives, of being one of those guys who looks for any opportunity to cross boundaries. She even went so far as to suggest that Micah wanted to see explicit content of someone within their circle, which to her was not only disrespectful but deeply disturbing. Micah was stunned. He couldn't believe how quickly the situation had escalated. In his mind, he had been acting responsibly. He thought that by verifying the rumor, he was protecting both Tegan and the family as a whole. Instead, he was now being painted as the villain. As the argument raged on, deeper truths began to surface. Veronica revealed something about how she approaches conflict that gave viewers a window into her mindset. She admitted that she operates with an eye for an eye mentality. If someone hurts her, she believes in matching their energy, in giving back exactly what she receives. This means that when she feels betrayed, she doesn't just pull back, she strikes back. This approach has shaped many of her interactions with Micah's family. Whenever she perceives them as judging her or shutting her out, she reacts defensively, sometimes even aggressively. To her, it's about survival. To Micah, though, it often feels like an attack on the people he loves most. This difference in perspective is at the heart of their conflict. Micah wants harmony. He wants to be able to love Veronica and still have a relationship with his family. But Veronica sees things in black and white. In her mind, if the family wrongs her, she has to fight back. And if Micah doesn't take her side completely, he's part of the problem. The rumor about Tegan became a perfect storm. It combined Veronica's fear of betrayal, her mistrust of Micah, and her long-standing tension with his family into one explosive moment. It wasn't just that Micah went looking for proof. It was that by doing so, he seemed to align himself with the very people Veronica felt were against her. For Micah, the situation felt hopeless. No matter how many times he explained his reasoning, Veronica couldn't see past her hurt. The more he tried to defend himself, the more she interpreted it as gaslighting or manipulation. It was as if they were speaking completely different languages, with no way to bridge the gap. This fight revealed just how fragile their relationship had become. There was no foundation of trust to fall back on, no shared understanding to keep them grounded. Instead, every disagreement turned into a battle, and every battle left deeper scars. By the end of the argument, Veronica was visibly shaken. She didn't just feel hurt, she felt unsafe, like she couldn't rely on Micah to have her back. She started making ultimatums, saying things like, "If you go to that wedding without me, we're done." In her mind, this was about loyalty. Either Micah chose her or he chose his family. There was no middle ground. Micah, on the other hand, felt trapped. He wanted to be there for his sister Lydia, to celebrate her wedding day without all this drama hanging over him. But he also didn't want to lose Veronica. Every path forward seemed to come with devastating consequences. As the dust settled from their explosive fight, it became clear that this wasn't something they could resolve on their own. The tension between them was too deep, the wounds too raw. That's when the idea of couples therapy came into play. Both Micah and Veronica agreed to attend a session, but even that decision was loaded with emotion. Veronica saw it as an opportunity to finally be heard, to make Micah and everyone else understand just how much pain she'd been carrying. Micah saw it as a last-ditch effort to save their relationship before it completely fell apart. As they prepared for that session, the stakes couldn't have been higher. If they couldn't find a way to work through this, it wouldn't just mean the end of their relationship. It would mean even more division within the Plath family, especially with Lydia's wedding looming. In the next part of this story, we'll go inside that therapy session and see how it all plays out. Will Veronica and Micah finally be able to bridge the gap between them, or will this be the moment that pushes them past the point of no return? The answer will shape not only their future, but the future of the entire family. The therapy session was supposed to be a safe space, a neutral ground where Micah and Veronica could finally speak their truths without yelling, without accusations flying back and forth, and without the constant feeling of being judged. But from the moment they walked into the room, it was clear this wasn't going to be easy. The tension between them was so thick you could practically feel it through the screen. Micah sat stiffly on one side of the couch, his hands clasped tightly in front of him, while Veronica sat on the other side, arms crossed and eyes blazing. She wasn't just angry, she was hurt, deeply wounded by everything that had unfolded over the past few days. The therapist, a calm and collected presence in the middle, tried to set the tone by encouraging both of them to be honest but respectful. Right away, Veronica came out swinging. The therapist asked her to explain, in her own words, what brought them to this point. Veronica didn't hold back. She started by talking about the rumor, about how she had first heard that Tegan supposedly had an OnlyFans account. She described the phone call with Micah's brother, the shock she felt, and the urgency she felt to tell Micah. But when she got to the part about Micah looking online to verify the rumor, her voice cracked with emotion. I felt like he went behind my back, she said, fighting back tears. Instead of believing me, instead of standing with me, he decided to go searching. That told me everything I needed to know about where his loyalty really is. Micah shifted uncomfortably, clearly frustrated. He had heard this same argument countless times over the past few days, and no matter how many ways he explained himself, Veronica just couldn't see his perspective. The therapist gently asked Veronica what she felt at that moment, when she realized what Micah had done. Veronica didn't hesitate. Betrayal, she said flatly, pure betrayal. If I tell you something, if I come to you with my concerns, I expect you to have my back. Instead, he went looking, like he didn't believe me, like he needed proof. And to me, that's the same as saying I'm not trustworthy. Micah finally spoke up, his voice measured but tense. It wasn't about not believing you, he said. It was about making sure this rumor didn't get out of hand. If I had gone to Tegan or anyone else without knowing the truth, it could have caused even more damage. I wasn't doing it for me, Veronica. I was doing it to protect everyone. Veronica shook her head, her arms still tightly crossed. No, she snapped. You were curious. You wanted to see for yourself. Don't stand there and tell me it was about protecting anyone. You went looking because you wanted to see what was there. The room fell silent for a moment. The therapist let the words hang in the air before stepping in. Veronica, she said gently, it sounds like you're feeling deeply hurt and maybe even unsafe in this relationship right now. But it's important to separate intent from impact. Micah's intent may not have been to hurt you, but the impact on you was very real. Can you acknowledge that there's a difference? Veronica hesitated. Her jaw clenched as she considered the question. Finally, she gave a short, sharp nod. I can acknowledge it, she said. But it doesn't change how it felt. It doesn't change the fact that I don't trust him. This was the first time Veronica had said it so plainly, and the words seemed to hit Micah like a punch to the gut. He turned toward her, his voice breaking slightly. You don't trust me at all, he asked quietly. Veronica didn't flinch. Not when it comes to other women, she replied. Not when it comes to situations like this. You have a history of looking, of being too friendly, of making me feel like I'm not enough. So no, Micah, I don't trust you. Micah exhaled sharply, his frustration boiling over. That's not fair, he said, his voice rising. You're taking every single thing I've ever done, twisting it and using it against me. I have never cheated on you. I have never gone behind your back, in that way. All I did was try to stop a rumor from destroying my family, and somehow that makes me the bad guy. Veronica's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of anger. You don't get it, she shouted. This isn't just about the rumor, this is about you never standing up for me. Every time your family treats me like I'm the enemy, you stay quiet. You let them say whatever they want, you let them judge me, and then you run back to them, like nothing happened. I'm always the outsider. Micah, always. The therapist stepped in again, sensing that the conversation was spiraling out of control. It sounds like there's a bigger issue here, she said calmly. Veronica, you're feeling isolated and unsupported. Micah, you're feeling caught in the middle, like you have to choose between your partner and your family. That's an incredibly difficult position to be in. Micah nodded, his shoulders slumping. That's exactly how I feel, he admitted. I love Veronica, but I also love my family. I don't want to have to choose. I want both parts of my life to work together, but no matter what I do, it's never enough. Veronica's voice was quieter now, but no less intense. It's never enough, because you don't fight for me, she said. You say you love me, but when it comes down to it, you always choose them. You always take their side. I'm tired of being the one who has to fight alone. The therapist nodded thoughtfully. Veronica, you've mentioned before that when you're hurt, you tend to retaliate, she said carefully. Can you talk a little about that? Veronica looked down at her hands, clearly uncomfortable. After a long pause, she spoke softly. When someone hurts me, I hurt them back, she admitted. It's the only way I know how to protect myself. If I just sit there and take it, they'll keep doing it. So I fight back. I make sure they feel what I feel. This was a powerful moment. It was raw and honest, but it also revealed a deeply ingrained pattern that was wreaking havoc on her relationship. The therapist acknowledged Veronica's pain, but gently pointed out how this cycle of retaliation was keeping them stuck. When you respond to hurt with more hurt, the therapist explained, it creates a never-ending loop of pain. Micah feels attacked, so he pulls away or defends himself. You feel abandoned, so you retaliate, and the cycle continues. It's like both of you are fighting a war instead of building a partnership. Micah nodded vigorously. That's exactly what it feels like, he said. Like I'm constantly under attack. It's not just about me and Veronica anymore. It's about my family too. Every time we have an argument, she brings them into it. I can't even mention my sister Lydia's wedding without it turning into a fight. Veronica's eyes narrowed. Because your family has never accepted me, she shot back. They've judged me from day one, and you've done nothing to stop it. Do you know how exhausting it is to walk into a room and feel like everyone hates you? To feel like no matter what you do, it's never enough for them. Micah's voice cracked with emotion. I do know, he said, because I feel the same way every time I'm stuck between you and them. I love you, Veronica, but I can't keep living like this. I can't keep feeling like I have to apologize for loving my family. The therapist leaned forward, her tone serious. Both of you have valid feelings, she said. But right now, you're stuck in a battle over who is right and who is wrong. If you want to move forward, you have to start taking accountability for your own actions, not just pointing fingers. This was a turning point in the session. For the first time, there was a moment of silence, as both Micah and Veronica processed what had been said. The therapist asked each of them to take responsibility for one thing they had done to hurt the other. Micah went first. I should have told Veronica exactly what I was doing before I went online to check the rumor, he admitted. I should have been more transparent. I see now how that made her feel like I was hiding something. Veronica's eyes softened slightly, but only for a moment. When it was her turn, she took a deep breath. I retaliate, she said simply. When I'm hurt, I go for the jugular. I say things I don't mean, I lash out, and I make the situation worse. I know that about myself, but in the moment, I can't seem to stop. It was a rare moment of honesty from both of them, but it didn't magically fix their problems. The therapist gently reminded them that accountability was just the first step. If they wanted to rebuild trust, they would have to do it day by day, choice by choice. As the session came to a close, there was a sense of uneasy calm. They had aired their grievances, but the path forward was still unclear. Veronica still didn't trust Micah, especially when it came to other women. Micah still felt like he was being forced to choose between the woman he loved and the family that had raised him. Walking out of that therapy room, it was impossible to know what their future would hold. Would they find a way to heal, or was this the beginning of the end? The upcoming wedding loomed over everything, like a dark cloud. Lydia and Zach's big day was supposed to be a celebration, a moment of joy for the entire family. But instead, it was shaping up to be the ultimate test of loyalty. Would Micah stand beside his sister, or would Veronica's hurt and anger keep him away? As the camera followed them out the door, viewers were left with one haunting question. Can a relationship survive when trust has been shattered and loyalty is constantly in question? For Micah and Veronica, the answer was far from certain. The closer Lydia and Zach's wedding day came, the more the tension seemed to grow within the Plath family. What should have been a beautiful time filled with love, excitement, and celebration instead felt like a storm brewing just beneath the surface. This was supposed to be Lydia's moment, her chance to shine and step into a brand new chapter of her life with Zach by her side. But instead of just planning seating arrangements, choosing flowers, and enjoying her engagement, Lydia found herself in the middle of one of the most complicated and explosive family dramas she'd ever faced. For Veronica, The idea of attending this wedding was overwhelming in ways she could barely put into words. The thought of being surrounded by Micah's family, many of whom she felt had never truly accepted her, was almost too much to handle. But now, with the rumor about Tegan and the chaos it unleashed still fresh in her mind, Veronica felt like walking into that wedding would be like stepping into enemy territory. She replayed the events of the last few weeks over and over in her head. The moment she heard the rumor about Tegan, the way she'd felt when she saw Micah looking up information online, trying to verify it, the arguments, the tears, the therapy session that had ended without any real resolution. Veronica's emotions were raw, and now she was being asked to stand in a beautiful field, smiling and pretending everything was fine, while deep down she was barely holding it together. To Veronica, this wasn't just about a wedding, it was about walking into a room, or in this case, a grassy outdoor ceremony, filled with people she didn't trust, people who had judged her from day one, people who had whispered about her behind her back, people who had, in her mind, never truly given her a fair chance. And now, with Tegan in the mix, that feeling of being an outsider was magnified 100 times over. The biggest issue wasn't just that Veronica didn't like Tegan, it was that she was convinced Tegan represented everything she feared: betrayal, secrecy, and Micah's possible wandering eye. Even if the rumor about OnlyFans wasn't true, just the possibility was enough to send Veronica spiraling. She couldn't stand the thought of standing a few feet away from Tegan, knowing what she believed, knowing how much hurt and drama that one rumor had caused. Micah, on the other hand, was desperate for some kind of peace. He wanted this wedding to be a turning point, not another battlefield. For him, Lydia's wedding was more than just a family event. It was a chance to show Veronica that his family could come together and celebrate something beautiful. He imagined the two of them standing together, smiling, maybe even dancing, and for a few hours forgetting all the drama that had weighed them down for so long. But every time Micah tried to talk to Veronica about attending, the conversation quickly went south. She would tense up, her voice sharp, her words cutting. "I can't do it, Micah," she told him one night, her hands shaking. "I can't stand there and pretend to be okay when I'm not. You think this is just about Lydia's wedding, but it's not. It's about me walking into a place where everyone hates me, where everyone will be watching me, just waiting for me to mess up." Micah tried to reassure her. He told her he'd be by her side every second, that no one would hurt her, that they could get through it together. But Veronica wasn't convinced. "You can't promise me that," she said bitterly. "You can't promise me they won't whisper, they won't judge, they won't look at me like I don't belong. And you definitely can't promise me that Tegan won't be there, standing there smirking, like she hasn't caused all this chaos." The mention of Tegan's name was like lighting a fuse. Micah would immediately get defensive, insisting that Tegan hadn't done anything wrong, that the rumor was just that, a rumor. He reminded Veronica that there was never any proof, that he had checked because he wanted to put the issue to rest, not because he wanted to see anything inappropriate. But Veronica couldn't let it go. In her mind, Tegan was the source of everything that had gone wrong, and she couldn't imagine standing in the same space as her without something exploding. As the wedding day approached, Lydia found herself caught between her joy and her worry. She loved Veronica in her own way, or at least she wanted to, but she also knew how much tension Veronica brought into the family. Lydia's dream was for everyone to come together and support her, to put aside their differences for just one day. But deep down she feared that her wedding could end up being remembered, not for her vows or her dress, but for whatever blow-up happened between Veronica and the rest of the family. In a heartfelt moment during a quiet conversation with Zach, Lydia admitted her fears. "I just want everyone to be happy for us," she said softly, her hands clasped in his. "But it feels like there's this storm cloud hanging over everything. I'm scared that no matter what I do, it won't be enough to keep the peace." Zach, ever the calm and steady presence, tried to reassure her. "We can't control what other people do," he said gently. "All we can do is focus on us, on our love, on our day. If drama happens, it happens, but it won't ruin what this day means to me." Lydia smiled through her tears, grateful for his steady support, but she couldn't shake the feeling of dread in her stomach. Meanwhile, Veronica wrestled with her decision. Some days she was certain she wouldn't go. She would tell Micah to go without her, to support his sister while she stayed home and avoided the mess entirely. Other days, guilt would creep in. She knew how important this day was to Lydia and to Micah. She didn't want to be the reason Micah spent the entire wedding distracted and worried, but every time she pictured herself walking into that wedding, she felt panic rise in her chest. She imagined Tegan standing there, imagined the stares, imagined the whispers, and worst of all, she imagined losing control, saying something, doing something that would turn Lydia's perfect day into a disaster. One evening, Veronica voiced her fears to Micah. "What if something happens?" she asked quietly. "What if I can't keep it together? What if I embarrass you, or Lydia, or myself?" Micah took her hands and looked into her eyes. "Nothing's going to happen," he promised. "We'll go, we'll smile, we'll be there for Lydia, and then we'll leave. That's it. No drama, no fighting. Just one day, Veronica. That's all I'm asking for." But deep down, even Micah wasn't sure he believed his own words. As the big day grew closer, the entire situation started to feel symbolic, almost like the wedding itself was a mirror of the family's current state. Weddings are supposed to be about love, unity, and new beginnings, but in this case it felt like a fragile attempt to hold everything together while cracks were forming beneath the surface. The decorations, the flowers, the vows, they were all beautiful on the outside, but underneath, there was resentment, mistrust, and a web of unresolved issues threatening to unravel at any moment. It was like putting a fresh coat of paint on a house with a crumbling foundation. For viewers, the suspense was unbearable. Would Veronica show up and stand by Micah's side, proving that their relationship could survive even this test? Or would she stay home, leaving Micah to face his family alone, and sending a clear message that she was done playing nice? The night before the wedding, Veronica stayed up late, pacing the floor, her mind racing. Every argument, every painful memory, every whispered conversation from the past few weeks played on a loop in her head. She thought about the therapy session, about Micah's tearful plea for her to trust him, about her own admission that she couldn't seem to stop retaliating when she was hurt. She also thought about Lydia, about how much this day meant to her, about how it wasn't fair for Lydia to have her wedding overshadowed by family drama. That thought tugged at Veronica's heart, softening her anger just enough to make her pause. When the sun finally rose on the wedding day, the question still hung in the air. Would Veronica walk down that grassy aisle with Micah, or would she stay home, leaving everyone to wonder where things truly stood? As Micah got dressed and prepared to support his sister, his phone stayed close by, every buzz making his heart race. He didn't know what Veronica would decide. He only knew that her choice would speak volumes, not just about their relationship, but about the future of the entire Plath family. Viewers held their breath as the screen faded to black, the tension unresolved, the answer left hanging like a question mark. Would love win out, or would chaos take over? In a family like the Plaths, nothing was ever simple, and nothing was ever guaranteed. The days leading up to Lydia and Zach's wedding were supposed to be filled with excitement and love, but instead they were consumed by tension, anxiety, and ultimatums that threatened to tear the Plath family apart. The closer the big day came, the more the fragile peace between Micah and Veronica began to crumble. Veronica had been wrestling with her decision for weeks, going back and forth in her mind, but now she was done wavering. She laid down a line in the sand that Micah couldn't ignore, sitting across from him at their kitchen table. Her voice was low but sharp, each word deliberate and final. "If Tegan goes to that wedding," Veronica said, her eyes locked on his, "I'm not going, and if you go without me, Micah, we're done." The silence that followed was deafening. Micah stared at her, stunned as the weight of her words sank in. She wasn't just talking about skipping the wedding, she was talking about their entire relationship, their future together hanging in the balance of one event, one day, one decision. Micah rubbed his face with his hands, trying to process what she had just said. "Veronica, this is my sister's wedding," he pleaded. "It's one of the most important days of her life. I can't just not go." Veronica didn't waver. "And I can't go if she's there," she shot back. "I won't stand there and smile and pretend like everything is fine when I'm standing next to someone who has caused me this much pain. I won't do it, Micah. You can't make me." Her voice cracked, but her resolve didn't. This wasn't just about Tegan anymore. It was about every fight, every moment of mistrust, every time Veronica had felt like an outsider in Micah's family. Micah's heart broke as he listened to her. He wanted so badly to fix things, to reassure her, to convince her that this day could be about love and celebration instead of bitterness and division. But the truth was, he didn't know how to make that happen. The irony of it all wasn't lost on him. Lydia's wedding was supposed to be a symbol of hope, a new beginning for their family. Instead, it was becoming a breaking point, a test that none of them seemed ready to pass. The night before the wedding, Micah found himself sitting alone, staring at his phone. Part of him wanted to call Lydia and explain everything, to tell her about Veronica's ultimatum, about how close he was to losing the woman he loved, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. Lydia deserved a peaceful, joyful wedding day, not another burden to carry. Meanwhile, Veronica was at home, pacing the floor, her emotions swinging wildly between anger and heartbreak. She replayed every hurtful moment in her mind, the rumor about Tegan, Micah's decision to look it up, the therapy session where she'd admitted to retaliating when she felt attacked, and underneath it all was a deep, aching fear, the fear that she and Micah would never truly be on the same side, that no matter how hard they tried, there would always be someone or something standing between them. When the morning of the wedding finally arrived, the air was thick with tension. Micah got dressed quietly, the silence between him and Veronica louder than any argument they'd ever had. He kept glancing at her, hoping for a sign that she'd changed her mind, but she wouldn't meet his gaze. As he buttoned his shirt, Micah finally broke the silence. "Are you coming with me?" he asked softly, almost afraid of the answer. Veronica's back was to him, her shoulders tense. "Is Tegan going to be there?" she asked without turning around. Micah hesitated, and that tiny pause told Veronica everything she needed to know. "Then no," she said coldly. "I'm not going." Micah closed his eyes, his heart sinking. He wanted to fight, to argue, to beg her to reconsider, but he knew it was pointless. Veronica had made her choice. As he left the house alone, the weight of the situation hit him like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just about one wedding. It was about every unresolved grudge, every unhealed wound, every time this family had chosen pride over forgiveness. At the wedding venue, Lydia was radiant, glowing with joy as she prepared to marry Zach, but beneath her smile was a flicker of worry. She noticed Micah arriving alone, and immediately knew something was wrong. She didn't ask, not yet. She wanted to hold on to her happiness for just a little longer before reality crashed in. Meanwhile, Veronica sat at home, staring at her phone, waiting for a text from Micah that she knew might never come. Her mind raced with what-ifs. What if Micah saw Tegan there, and it stirred up old feelings? What if his family spent the entire wedding whispering about her absence? What if this was the moment that finally drove them apart for good? Back at the ceremony, Lydia and Zach exchanged vows, surrounded by friends and family. It was a beautiful moment, filled with love and hope, but for Micah, standing there alone, it was bittersweet. He smiled for his sister, but his mind kept drifting to Veronica and the empty space beside him. After the ceremony, as everyone gathered to celebrate, the undercurrent of tension returned. Micah overheard snippets of conversation, subtle digs about Veronica's absence. He kept his composure, but inside, he was torn apart. He wanted to defend her, to explain everything, but he also didn't want to cast a shadow over Lydia's big day. As the reception wound down, Micah slipped away to call Veronica. The conversation was short and painful. "I wish you were here," he said quietly. "I couldn't do it, Micah," Veronica replied, her voice trembling. I couldn't." There was a long pause before Micah whispered, "I don't know where we go from here." "Me neither," Veronica said, and then the line went dead. The wedding ended, but the damage lingered. Lydia and Zach started their married life, surrounded by love, but the cracks in the family were deeper than ever. For Micah and Veronica, the future was uncertain. The ultimatum had been set, the lines had been drawn, and now they had to decide whether they could find a way back to each other, or if this was the end of their story. As viewers watched the episode unfold, it was impossible not to reflect on the bigger picture. This wasn't just about one couple or one wedding. It was about a family struggling to heal, a family weighed down by grudges, jealousy, and mistrust. Veronica's decision not to attend wasn't just a personal choice. It was a symbol of how far things had fallen apart. In a family where forgiveness seemed impossible and loyalty was constantly questioned, every decision carried enormous weight. Micah's pain was palpable, but so was Veronica's. Both of them were fighting battles that went far beyond the surface drama. The episode ended with a lingering question: how much damage can a family endure before it breaks completely? As the screen faded to black, I couldn't help but think about the choices we all face in our relationships. When trust is broken, when loyalties are tested, when grudges linger for years, can love alone be enough to hold everything together? I want to hear what you think. Was Veronica right to take a stand and stay home, or should she have gone to support Micah and Lydia despite her feelings? Whose side are you on in this complicated, painful situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Sister Wives Daily so you don't miss any of our deep coverage of the Plath family and all the twists and turns still to come, because in this family, the drama is never really over, it just waits for the next moment to explode.